every election, just like the 2015 election, politicians and political parties will make promises, and they have made a lot of promises in this current campaign. And the issue is that for these promises to be fulfilled, you require an effective, efficient, responsive, transparent, and accountable public service. So for these politicians' promises to be fulfilled, they need to reform the public service so that the public service will be able to deliver. I have identified at least 9 clear issues which I think that the politicians need to focus on in order to address reform in the public service. The first is cost of governance. The second is effective budgeting, because it is through budgeting that you will be able to make resources available to provide the services. The third is public finance management. And the fourth is civil service reform. And there is the need for reform of the civil service. There is also the challenge of planning. Planning has been a huge challenge in Nigeria. The sixth issue is policy. I think that there is a need for a clear way of filtering policy ideas into the system so that policies are not based on the whims and caprices of individuals. There is also what I call the sectorial issues. The various sectors, education sector, health sector, agriculture, which are supposed to deliver specific services to citizens. Improvement in the capacity of those various sectors to deliver those services. And then the eighth issue is the issue of constituency projects. You'll be amazed to learn that in some of the ministries, over 80% of capital projects are constituency projects. And these constituency projects, many of them just go into the budget without clear costing and design. So anybody wanting to contest election or the political party, they need to tell us how they will deal with constituency projects. And we know that it has also been a huge challenge. But even during the Obasanjo regime, there's always back and forth with the National Assembly on the issues of constituency projects. So they need to deal with that. And then finally, the issue of corruption, which is a big problem in the country, and politicians and political parties need to let us know how they will address corruption in Nigeria. Thank you very much.
So I'd like to welcome Dr. Joe Abbott to tell us what's happening.
I wanted to start by commending Speaker's Corner Trust for putting together this event. I think it's very important, and I think it's apt that we're actually having this discussion at this point in time. We've assessed all the reforms that have happened over the last 15 years, looking at 47 of the most important reforms. And we've asked questions like, have the reforms reduced the cost of governance? Do more people have access? Has it reduced corruption? Has it made services more affordable to citizens? Has it reduced unnecessary bureaucracy and red tape? Are things improving? Are they staying the same, or are they getting worse? And we ask these questions without completely independently, and validated our responses. And we will soon publish that report. Hopefully during February we will publish that report. But some of the things I just want to highlight from there is that the integrated payroll system that Otive mentioned has saved the government 160 billion naira, and has removed 45,000 ghost workers so far. And we've only covered 350 out of 549 ministries, departments, and agencies. You can actually retire today and be confident that you'll get a pension, which never used to be the case. Our pension pot was at a deficit of 43 billion in 2004. It now has a healthy 4.6 trillion in the account. So you can actually retire today knowing you will get a pension, guaranteed that you'll get a pension. Our public procurement reforms have saved government 618 billion since 2007. Our anti-corruption efforts have seen us go from being the second most corrupt country in 1999 to only being perceived as the 39th most corrupt now. And let me go back to 1999 when we were seen as the second most corrupt. In 1998, we were rated the most corrupt country in the world. In 1997, we were rated the most corrupt country in the world. So this is, yes, we need to do a lot more. But we've moved from being the second most corrupt when we came back to democracy to being the 39th most corrupt today. We have a national health insurance scheme that covers 98% of federal government employees. Our elections are more credible, like I've said. We've completely eradicated Guinea worm as a country, and we're on the verge of completely eradicating polio. Our HIV prevalence is now only 3.2%, which is a drop of 37% from 1999. We met goal 1 of the MDGs to have extreme poverty with 2 years to spare. We actually met it in 2013. Our defeat of Ebola has been held up by the US Congress and the UK Parliament as an example that their government should go and study. This is not easy. Don't forget that we're begging America to give us the vaccine at the beginning of Ebola, and they refused. To have come from that situation to a situation where their own Congress is now asking them to come and learn from Nigeria how they tackled Ebola, I think is worthy of recommendation. Our revenue collection as of 2014 stands at 4.8 trillion, well above government targets, well above the targets of FRS itself. This is significant because our FRS is able to collect 4.8 trillion in an environment where the social contract between the citizen and government has actually been broken for a long time. In an environment where people will tell you, why should I pay tax? I'm providing my own security. I'm pumping my own water through my own borehole. I'm sending my children to private school. What is government doing for me? So to be able to collect 4.8 trillion naira of taxes in 1 year, I think also is a commendable achievement. The reform of our banking sector means that our banks actually have a higher level of liquidity than the global average. Our level of liquidity in our banks is 18%. The global recommended average is only 10%. Our non-performing loan ratio is only 4% now. The cashless policy that we introduced in 2012, which, by the way, people said will never work. Nigeria will never use ATM cards. We prefer to put our money under our pillow. It has gone up, the use in bank cards has gone up from 38 million naira in 2012 to 24 billion in just 2 years. Just 2 years. Our stock market return of 47% in 2013 was the best in Africa. We now have $5 billion investment in our agriculture sector, and our food importation bill has gone down from 7 billion in 2011 to nearly half, 4.3 billion in 2014. In terms of transportation, our trains are running again. We're moving our goods and services by rail, and we're moving 1 million liters per day by rail. 1 million liters of petrol are moved daily by rail. That is taking pressure off our roads. The number of tankers on our roads are reducing. We're using our inland waterways again to transport containers around the country. There's a lot that's going on in the transportation sector. We are also producing made in Nigerian cars. Unfortunately, they won't let me drive into the complex because I would have shown you my official car, which was made by Innocent Motors in Nnewi, Anambra State, of which I'm very, very proud. Not assembled in Nigeria, made in Nigeria. Okay, I'm very proud of that, and wherever I go, I show off my official car. The message I want you to take away is that our country is reforming for the better. Public service delivery is improving around us, our country is growing, and I challenge anybody with contrary statistics to bring it forward, and let's debate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Joe Abba. We've learned a lot of things, within this discussion. One thing I've picked out is good things, the good life. We all want good things in life. We all want the good life. We all watch movies, we see how things are, we travel, we see how things are in other countries, and we aspire to have them in this country. From what we've heard now, like you rightly mentioned, there's always a lot of negativity in the media. All we hear, normally we always complain and complain, this is not working, we're not happy with this situation, but then we take very little time to actually investigate and see that certain things are actually working, or certain things are better than they were before. Of course, there are challenges, there is need for improvement, but we've heard that some sectors are working, and we should celebrate those sectors that are working. We should celebrate those things that are working. At the same time, we should aspire to improve them and make them more world-class. So, without much ado, I'm going to open the floor now for participants to express themselves, share best practices, give us some ideas or suggestions, and challenge us, or challenge them basically, to do better and to do more, and challenge ourselves individually as well.
It is one occasion that I'm hearing somebody from the civil service talking like somebody from civil society, while still showcasing the achievements of not the government in power, but the achievements of Nigeria as a nation. I think we should all go with our heads high anywhere in the world and say, proudly, I'm a Nigerian. There are challenges, as you've said. First of all, I'm living witness to the fact that when you retire from the civil service, you get your pension. I get my pension as at 18th of every month. And I retired in 2010, and that is the truth.
The problem we have in Nigeria today is a lot of people are deprived from basic necessities are deemed complacent. And that's why I differentiate between a country like Nigeria and Ethiopia, as you mentioned. Ethiopia is a place where people scream and clamor for change and aren't easily satisfied by mediocre. So in a country like Nigeria, for instance, where I was in a debate recently, and we're talking about the education system, and someone brought up a point about there being or existing 36 federal universities in all 36 states today. And I made mention of the fact that we live in a jet age, and I think our feelings of deprivation are easily triggered. And it's a thing where things have to move faster than we're preached. So rather than say, we have 36 universities now, and that should be deemed as a major achievement. These are things we should have been attained a long time ago.
Corruption has been the major issue here. And nobody is talking about it, but even the community people that they are talking about in their own areas, these things are not available. This reform that we are talking about, you know that I appreciate the present admission, especially on the FY, because the FY is an enabling law that if actually utilized, Nigeria would experience a turnaround. And the fact that some other admission have done something that this current admission is talking about, but how do we ensure that this sectoral aspect they are actually taking care to deliver these services? You understand? So that an average person will not say that in my country, you know the issue of GSM. Those of them tell us that in Côte d'Ivoire, that you see a paper seller, but now we can see it. Now, in terms of these services, how possible can this reform bring about this in the nearest future?
Governments are duty bearers. They are supposed to actually provide education. Now, when you are now giving that part to say, okay, the local government, the state, they should be the one running, you have practically made the central to be, let's say, weak or not relevant to the needs and the yearnings of the people.
I also work for one of the agencies that is piloting reform in the extractive sector. But that, aside, I want to ask him if his office is looking at what I call the whole gamut of the character of the public service itself. And by this I mean in the context of recruitment. Because the whole summary or A to Z of public service result is effectiveness and efficiency in service delivery.
The issue of corruption, absolutely right. Absolutely right. We need to do more on corruption. And I'll tie this to the question about EFCC. Because EFCC, you talk about corruption in Nigeria and everybody goes EFCC. EFCC is not the only anti-corruption organ that we have. We have the ICPC. We have the Bureau of Public Procurement that is stopping people from stealing money through contracts. We have the Code of Conduct Bureau.
I think that in this country, we really need 3 broad forms of reform. We need political reform, full-blown political reform, economic reform. Economic reform to grow the economy, to diversify the economy, and I think even for me, the greatest challenge now is how to make the economy inclusive, to ensure that the gains of the growth of the economy is evenly distributed among the citizens of the country. And then, of course, the third broad form of reform is social and cultural reform. Increasingly, moral values are decreasing. A lot of people no longer value hard work and integrity.